Well, I've talked about them before, but for a couple of years I've used this Lee Auto Prime. Used a lot. And they work very well. There's a couple of downsides to them. You know, like I've complained before about these covers for the trays. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see it's a lot of little fracture lines there. They snap off. Other people don't seem to complain, but I think I am sometimes loading in conditions like below freezing, and this evidently can't take it because, like I say, this one they're ready to break off anytime. And this one they're both broken off, and I got a piece of tape holding her together. But I like the way the machine works. One of the other downsides to it is it does require that you use the specific Lee Auto Prime shell holders for each caliber, but they're not that expensive, and a lot of them will cover a fairly wide range, and you can buy them in a set pretty reasonably. And in a bind, you can convert a regular shell holder to an Auto Prime shell holder. I've done that on a couple of different calibers just by grinding that whole deal off the bottom, you know, that sticks up, and then they'll work in the Auto Prime. Because, you know, there's some of them they don't make them for. Like the 5070, I know, was one I had to make one. But it's not a big deal. But another problem I had with it is I constantly am switching from pistol to, you know, small pistol to large rifle, back and forth. And every time you do that, you have to disassemble the whole mechanism. Not that hard to do, but still a nuisance that I could live without. Well, I had to be in town today, and I wasn't finding anything I needed, but I happened to notice that they had the Lee Auto Primes, and they were, you know, like they were 19 something, or a $20 unit. So I bought another one. That way I can end up with, you know, 2 new tray covers. So that's got me covered. Yeah, a small and a large. You know, and that's the 2 that I use all the time. So now what I'll do is I'll actually leave one for small and one for large. And I won't have to keep doing that swap out all the time. And it'll give me 2 new covers. Because it is a bit of a nuisance. You know, and then you got the trays flopping around. But you always have to pull this whole bottom piece out in order to get that out of there. So I can retire that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, there. They're kind of a mystery to go together again. And they only fit in that one certain way. See, this is something, if I could avoid having to do this all the time, that would be great. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Because they should be the same unit. There. And now I'm ready to go. I see they did one little different thing. They actually have a little cage over the top of the primer now, so when it elevates up it can't pop out, because they did have a tendency to do that. If you didn't have them lean just right, they could pop and go the other way. So that looks good. And for that price, it'll save me having to monkey around all the time. But like I say, they're a good working unit. And the price is certainly right. And it is really all I use, unless I'm using the little lead loader sets, but otherwise these are the tool. And they work very well, you know, like I say, I don't think that much of these little plastic clips. You know, you have to be kind of careful taking iron off, and the cold evidently is a real killer on them. But you know, like other people say, they haven't had a problem, but believe me, I've had a problem. And it usually has to be solved with rubber bands or tape. But this should help.